Okay, so prior to this video, we talked about, on the previous video, we talked about slope-intercept form for linear equations. And in this video, we're talking about standard form and point-slope form. So we're still talking about linear equations. They're just different forms of the equation. So slope-intercept form is what we talked about on the previous video. So we have y equals mx plus b. Remember, m was your slope and b was your y-intercept. So right in the formula it had, or right in the equation, it had your slope and your intercept. To begin the video, we're going to talk about standard form. And in standard form, you're going to see just a number with the x plus a number with the y equals some other number. So a, b, and c are going to be numbers. And we're also going to talk about point-slope form. So the slope is your m, and your point is the x1 and the y1. So these two we're going to discuss today. So standard form. So some examples of standard form we have here. We have 3x plus 2y equals 6. Notice how we have an x term and a y term equals a number. So that's going to be common in all of the standard form equations. In this one here, we have the x term, the y term, and the number. So it doesn't matter if they're negative or not. All those terms have to line up just like these. So what we're going to be seeing is equations in standard form, and we want to write them in slope-intercept form. So we actually want to change them into the y equals mx plus b. And I'll show you how to do this. What you're first going to do, and we're looking at the first one here, is notice how you want to get the y by itself. So what we first want to do is get rid of the x term. So to get rid of that positive 2x, we're going to subtract 2x on both sides. So these will cancel out. I just have a 5y on the left side, and that equals negative 10 minus 2x. Those can't combine together. One's an x term, one's a number. Those cannot combine together. So I'm going to just write it as negative 2x minus 10. Just write them together. Now I put the x term first because in my slope-intercept form, I want that x term first. So it's okay if you switch it around like that. But notice how I want to get y by itself on the left side. So I have to get rid of the 5. Let's divide by 5 then on both sides. Actually, I'm going to write that a little differently. Now when you divide by 5 on the left side, I need to divide by 5 on every single term. So just like that. Now the 5s are going to cancel out. I'm going to write this over here. I have y equals, now negative 2x divided by 5. What I'm going to do is just combine the numbers and throw the x on the end. So just a negative 2 over 5, plop an x on the end of the fraction, and then negative 10 divided by 5 will give me a negative 2. And if you look at that, we are in our slope-intercept form. So pretty much just follow these same steps for all these problems and you'll be in good shape. So get rid of the x term. So you get to this right here and then divide by that number in front of the y. Make sure to divide by every single term here. And then do your simplifying and you'll get your answer. So likewise for this one, I need to get the x term on the other side. So let's add 4x on both sides. Remember, when you're going through these problems, always look at your examples. So these will cancel out. I have a 3y equals, and then those can't combine together, so 4x plus 9. And then I need to get y by itself, so let's divide by 3, but I need to divide by 3 on every term. So y is going to equal 4 thirds, just put those numbers together, x plus 3. And we will leave that just like that. That's in my slope-intercept form. So a few more problems. Again, you want to get them into slope-intercept form. So this one right here, notice how we don't have a number in front of the x term, or in front of the x. That's okay. So let's subtract x from both sides. Okay, so the x's will cancel out. We have a negative 8y equals a negative x plus 32. Just like that. Now I want to get that y by itself. I need to divide by a -8. Make sure to divide by the negative as well. So every single term I'm going to divide by a -8. So the -8s will cancel. I have y equals, and you can imagine there's like a little -1 there. So putting those numbers together, -1 divided by -8. The negatives will cancel, so all I really have for that one is a 1/8 x. And then 32 divided by -8 will give me a -4. So there is my answer. For this one, again, we need to subtract x on both sides. Those cancel out. A -y equals -x minus 4. And to get rid of the negative, again, you think like there's a -1 there. So I need to divide by -1 on everything. And essentially what you're doing is you're changing all the signs on everything. So y is going to equal, and the negatives will cancel. And anything divided by 1 is just itself. So that's just an x. -4 divided by -1 will give me a +4. So basically what we did from the -y equals -x minus 4, when you divide by -1, basically you're flipping all the signs. So that's where we got that answer. So we have a few problems that we're going to write in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to graph it. So first off, getting this equation in that slope-intercept form, let's subtract 3x on both sides. I have -2y equals -3x plus 8. Divide by -2 on everything. So y is going to equal 3/2, negatives will cancel, x plus 4. So there's our slope-intercept form. We're going to use that to graph this. So we're going to use our little shortcuts. So I think I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Yeah. So remember, this number here is your y-intercept, so we start at 4. We got to go up 3 and over 2 to that point there. And there is my graph. So using what we learned in the previous video. So one more like this. Again, you got to get the x term off of that left side. So we'll add a 8x on both sides. 3y is going to equal 8x plus 18. Divide by 3 on everything. So y will equal 8 over 3 plus 6. Oh, forgot the x there. So we're going to start at 6, and I got to move my graph around. Let's see, 6. And zoom out a little bit. So y-intercept at 6. I need to go up 8 and over 3. So 14 over 3. There's my line. And we're going to go on that one. So point slope form. So here is the formula, or the little equation set up for the point slope form. So it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this right here is the x value of 1 point, and this is the y value of a point, and m is your slope, just like in the slope-intercept form, m is your slope. So this form is really good to use if you know a point and the slope of an equation. You don't have to worry about the y-intercept with this. So here is a problem where they give you a point that's on a linear graph and the slope of the linear graph. So we need to come up with an equation for it in point slope form. So we have the form right here, and it's actually pretty easy to use. So let's start off, y minus y1. So this is your x1, y1, and your slope is like your m. So y minus y1, so y minus a -5, and we'll simplify that in a little bit, equals m, so m is 2/5, so 2/5, times x minus x1, so x minus 3. So when we simplify that, that's just going to be a y plus 5 equals 2/5 times x minus 3. So we are always going to keep this y just straight y and this x straight x. We're never going to plug in anything for those. So just these ones we're going to plug stuff in for. So another example, remember our form, we got y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Here's your x1, y1, and here's your m. So y minus 3 is going to equal negative 5 over 7, because that's my m, times x minus x1, so x minus a negative 2. And to simplify that, these just switch to positives, so we got y minus 3 equals negative 5 over 7 times x plus 2. So once again, a point and a slope. Give me my point slope form. So y minus y1, which is 9, equals m, which is 5, times x minus x1, which is 1. And there doesn't even need to be any simplifying for that one. So some problems where they give you a point that goes through, that the graph goes through, and the slope. So we actually want to write that in slope-intercept form. So pay attention to which form they want you to write it in. So y equals mx plus b. So what we're first going to do for these problems is find the point slope form, like we did on the previous slide. So let's see, we got y minus y1, so y minus a negative 1 equals m, which is my slope, 6 over 5, times x minus x1, or negative 5. So y plus 1 equals 6 over 5 times x plus 5. Okay, so that's my first step, just like we did in the previous slide. Now step 2, what you're going to do is a little math manipulation. So what you're going to do is distribute the right side. So this guy we're going to pull through. So y plus 1 equals 6/5 x, so just a number and x, just multiply those together. And when you're multiplying a fraction and just a number, remember with your multiplying fractions, you're going to multiply across. So you think of that 5 as on top of a fraction, so or a 5 over 1. So 6 times 5 will give me 30. 5 times 1 will give me a 5. So 30 divided by 5 will give me a 6, so plus 6. So which leads me to my third step is to solve for y. So we want to get y by itself. Let's subtract 1 on both sides. So subtract 1 with that 6. And I'm going to get a y equals 6 over 5x plus 5. And that is in my slope-intercept form. Okay, so just a couple more for this video. We want to come up with an equation in slope-intercept form that goes through 4, negative 3, and a slope of a half. So let's use that point slope form. So y minus a negative 3 equals m, or the slope, 1/2 times x minus 4. So this will be a y plus 3. Let's distribute that guy out front. So we got y plus 3 equals 1/2 x. And what's half of a negative 4? That's going to be a negative 2. Or you can think about it, 1/2 times a negative 4, or a negative 4 over 1. Multiply across, that's negative 4 over 2. which gives me a negative 2. And then we got to solve for y, so subtract 3 on both sides. So we have y equals 1/2 x minus 5. And we're good for that one. One more for the video. So we got y minus y1, or negative 4, equals m, negative 1/5, times x minus 5. So we have y plus 4, distributing the negative 1/5, negative 1/5 x. So negative 1/5 times the negative 5. The negatives will just give me a positive since I have two negatives. And 1/5 times 5, or 5 over 1, multiplying across, will give me a 5 over 5. 5 divided by 5 will give me a 1. And subtract 4 from both sides. I have y equals negative 1/5 x minus 3.